Science, Fresh Production.
What is going on, everybody? This is Coach Coleman, Jesse Coleman, and you're checking into Breakthrough Blueprint, the podcast, where we help you tap into your full potential, what's going on, how it is, what's happening. You know what I'm saying? I hope y'all feeling good. Hope you had a good weekend. For me, it was birthday weekend. You know, Shout out to everybody that wished me a happy birthday, everybody that, checked in on me. There's a few people that didn't check in, but it's all good. It is what it is. Hey, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I had a good time. I ended up taking myself to the Michigan game. Went to see went to see my people. Lost in the championship game to Purdue. It is what it is. Here's what I would say, that I am happy that we got that loss out of the way then, as opposed to going into the NCAA tournament. So I'm happy about that. So it should be a good tournament. I'll say overall though, I think the tournament is going to be a good one. Yeah, Duke, Arizona, Michigan, and they got Florida up there. Houston could be a problem, but honestly, I think it's pretty much going to be a. I think it's going to be pretty much up for grabs. It's one of those like any given Sunday things, like any given day for basketball. You have one off day, you're going home. So I'm excited to see what's going on with that, and just getting ready for the summertime. It's the weather's been crazy, yo. Like we went from last week, we hit about 70. The very next day, we had a hailstorm, right? Then the day after that, it was about 20 degrees. Then we got snow. Like we had all seasons in a short week span. Like it was pretty much crazy. But it is what it is. Here we are. We almost at that curve. I think we're gonna be good. Finally get to the summertime. And yeah, we're gonna, deal with it. I'm looking forward to the summer. Now, let's just get into some stuff, right? I want to kind of piggyback along the lines of what we've been talking about the past few weeks, and just going to like really locking in and hammering things down, right? So I want to just talk a little bit more about how we're showing up, how we are, making sure we're staying committed when things may not be that good, right? Like that's the big issue. Things are going on, things are not happening the way we want it to happen. So how do we combat that? How do we get past that? And a lot of people do not quit because they're failing. They quit because they're tired, right? A lot of people feel that burnout. And then there's a group of people that actually they're just impatient. They don't see the progress yet. It's one of those things where people go to the gym, right? And they're working out and they don't see what they're looking for in the mirror, where they feel like, okay, it's not working. That happens to a lot of people where they're at the gym, they're working out, they're not seeing the progress that they feel they should see, and they just stop. They just quit. When in our actuality, other people see it before we see it, and we got to have patience. We talked about it before about that, having that situation of delayed gratification. Everything is not going to come right then when we want it, and we have to be okay with that. We just know time on task over time, we'll be able to get there, right? So, in this episode, we're just going to talk about how, for you to be able to recognize that you might be a lot closer than you think to what it is that you want. And then the worst thing to do is for us to take our foot off the gas. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are probably seen that picture. It's an old, well, it's not even a picture. It's like a GIF where there's two individuals and they're both digging, looking for a piece of gold, right? And one person stops right before that one last dig to get the piece of gold, and the other person kept going, and they end up finding that piece of gold. And that's the one thing I want people to realize, is that there may be a situation where you are right there. You're right there need one more swing, need one more dig, and you're able to hit what you want to hit, but you take your foot off the gas, right? And I want to go into talking about the dangerous middle. Like there's the danger for a lot of people is that middle part. It's not the beginning, right? In the beginning, we're motivated. We we got that high. We're excited. We're pumped up. We're ready to go. And then it's not towards that breakthrough part, right? Where your results are visible. You're starting to see things, right? You put on a pair of clothes that you haven't worn in a while because it didn't fit. Now you got a few more. You got a few more. You got a little bit more space in it, right? It's not that part. It's that middle where it's the dangerous part for us to be at. It's that middle where people feel like nothing is happening. It feel like, man, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I just can't get past where I want to get to. That's the most dangerous part we got to be in, right? A lot of people really don't fail. They just stop too soon. And for my people in the real estate world, that's why when we talk about tracking our numbers, right? If we're tracking our numbers, we know like I just got to keep going. You can adjust, yet okay, I'm not failing. I just got to keep going. It just takes that one yes, and that's the problem that some people confuse failing with just not being patient and thinking everything's going to happen right away, not having that, not being okay with that delayed gratification, and they just stop too soon, right? Now, there's a lot of reasons why, people feel like, things aren't working. The big part is we just talked about it, where the results are delayed. The results are not coming as quickly as you would want it to come. Right? We have to get past that. It did not. It took how many years for you to, be a little bit unhealthy, right? It took time for you to get in the position you're in. It took time of you being a bad spender and not, you know, being accountable for your money and what you're spending. It took time for you to get to that point. So we got to realize is that the results of the other way of what we want it to be is going to take a little bit more time too. And then your effort doesn't feel, it doesn't feel like, like you're being rewarded yet. That is people in business deal with that a lot. We deal with that a lot where it feel like we're putting so much effort in and there's no what's that quote, there's no prize at the end of the rainbow, there's no goal. Like we feel like that we're not getting rewarded for the effort we put in, and depending on the situation, like we talked about last week, that it was one of those things where our expectations of other people is the thing that kind of hinder us a lot too, right? So again, our effort, if we feel like if we're not being rewarded for our effort, is that an expectation that we have for something else, right? Then we have to worry about, doubt, limiting beliefs. Those things are very bad. We have to work on that. As soon as something don't go our way, doubt starts creeping in. A perfect example, I just recently had a situation where there was an opportunity, I didn't get it, doubt starts creeping in. And I'm like, I had to stop it. Again, you can't control your first thought, but you can control your second thought. You can't control the initial thoughts you had, yet you have to quickly nip that in the bud and be like, nope, we're not going to go that route. We're not going to think that. We're going to move forward. So we got to make sure when doubt does creep in, because it's really not too much weight that I found out yet how to be able to stop that doubt from creeping in. Like the doubt is going to be there. We just have to deal with it. And then stop comparing ourselves, right? When we compare ourselves to other people and looking like they're moving a little bit faster than we are, and that they are, in a position we want to be in, we that doubts, we start comparing ourselves, and that's how that doubt started keeping in. So we have to stop doing that, right? And then for us to be able to do that, we have to look on what are we doing behind the scenes. What are the skills we're building, right? Are we forming good habits? Remember, you can form bad habits and good habits. Are we making sure we're forming good habits? And then that's going to help us with our identity shift. Again, we have to show up as the person we want to be already and be able to start showing up that way. A lot of the times you're not going to see the progress that you're not going to see it yet. You just have to remember, just because it's not visible doesn't mean it's not happening. Again, I always go back to the working out thing where you may get on a scale, you may look in the mirror and you feel like, you don't see any progress, but yet again, you go grab a pair of pants, you go grab a t-shirt that you had that may not fit anymore, you put it on and then you start noticing like, oh damn, I can't visually see this when I look in the mirror, but when I put on this shirt, I got a lot more room in it. When I put on these pants, oh, I got to tighten my belt up to the next hole, right? That's again, it doesn't just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not actually happening. Think about a tree, like when you plant a seed, when you're planting vegetables, when you're planting things, the roots grow before the results show. The roots are growing in the ground, it's building that strong foundation, it's making it solid to grow, and then you start seeing things sprouting out. That's the same thing when we're working on things. If we're showing up and doing what we're supposed to do, we're planting those seeds, we're getting our roots in the ground, and we're making sure things are growing. You got to remember, y'all, it's an internal growth before there's an external success. We are planting the seeds. We plant the seeds, we water it, and we make things happen. Right now, here's the flip side of that. We have to be careful because when things start going right, that temptation to ease up and take our foot off the gas, that is something that is very deadly to us that we got to make sure we stay on top of that. We have to. In the real estate world, we call it the real estate roller coaster, right? Business is a little slow, so you're doing all the things you need to do. And then once business start picking up, you stop doing the things you need to do. And then wonder why we go back and we start from the beginning. Like we can't skip days on when we're doing stuff. Like if you schedule time off and you schedule those, that time, okay, that's one thing. But you just decided to skip days because you don't feel like it, that's going to be a problem. The common theme that we have on this show, make sure you're not lowering your standards. Your standards do not get lowered. Your standards are what's going to get you to where you want to get to. So you must uphold those standards, even if it makes things a little bit rougher. The standards are the standards. Like now, I'm going to say this: there are some people that justify taking a break when it's not a break that is needed. Oh, I'm a little bit tired, so I'm taking a break. Are you truly tired, or are you just using that as an excuse? The reason we use that as excuse because we lose our sense of urgency. If our urgency isn't there, we're going to justify us taking a break. We're going to justify us lowering our standards. We're going to justify us skipping the day because that sense of urgency isn't there and we're not upholding the standards that we're supposed to have. You don't lose because it's hard. You lose because you slow down. That is the only time you lose. You lose when you slow down and you lose when you quit. Nobody has ever lost when because things got hard. They lost because they slowed down or they quit. We gotta stay locked in, y'all. We gotta stay locked in. And I'm gonna say this because I want to apologize to you all because I fell into this trap of, you know what, you're gonna have to make sacrifices. You're gonna have to have some long nights, early mornings, some weekend work. You're going to have to, until you get to a position where you want to be at, you're going to have to make those sacrifices. And I, for one, have to apologize because I've been in that camp of like, no, you don't have to sacrifice, do this, do that. If you are not where you want to be in relations to your goal, That can be a fitness goal, that can be a business goal, that can be a relationship goal. If you're not where you're supposed to, where you want to be, you're going to have to make sacrifices to do the things you want to do to get there. We talk about, balance is BS. It's called counterbalancing. You're going to be out of whack in one area of your life to make the other area to where you want to get to. Perfect example, fitness. If I know I want to drop body fat and drop some weight, I'm going to have to sacrifice eating those cookies. I'm gonna have to sacrifice sitting on the couch watching TV when I need to go to the gym. I'm gonna have to sacrifice staying up a little bit to get me some more rest because you need more rest for your body to recuperate. Same thing for business. If I am not where I want to be in my business, I am going to have to sacrifice some weekends to do some extra work. I am going to have to sacrifice being on social media and doing all these things because I need to get to what I need to get to. You are going to have to sacrifice. And it was one of those things where we always talked about the hustle culture. Then when the hustle culture got too big, we started talking about hustle culture is whack. You have to make sure that you are doing blah blah blah. But honestly, if you're not where you want to get to, there are some sacrifices that needs to be made. We got to stay locked in. We have to double down, but we have to double down on the things that are working. That is one of the problems. That's why we tell people to track their numbers. That's why we tell people to write down what it is you're doing, because when you need to double down, you need to double down on the right things. You need to double down on the things that's working and not just doubling down on things just for the hell of it. We got to keep our standards high. We know our standards and our goal have to align with each other, so we have to stay on top of our standards and keep them high to hit our goals. The one of the big pieces to that is we have to stop. We got to get our emotions out of it. We have to stop being emotional about everything. We have to focus on execution and not on emotions. We have to, y'all, because that's a big thing for us, right? It's standards, discipline, and identity. How are you showing up? What are your standards to get you to your goals? Are you disciplined to those standards? And then what is the identity? How are you showing up? That is the big thing we got to focus on. And this goes both ways. This can be business. This can be life. A life related. Business is, again, we know, and it doesn't matter what business you in. Your pipeline needs to be filled. You need to be lead generating for new people to put in your pipeline, and you have to do it on a consistent basis. For the fitness side of things, our results lag behind our effort. We have our lead and our lag indicators. Our lead indicators are what we can control and how we're showing up. Our lag indicators are the results of what we're doing. So the same thing with fitness. You're putting in the effort, you're showing up, you're eating right, you're tracking your macros, you're working out. Your lag, your lag results is going to be you hitting your goal of what you wanted to hit. And you have to remember things like mindset shifts take time. And this is me going down the path of, talking about personal growth, right? We were programmed for how many years we've been programmed the way we were. It's going to take time for us to unwire those things and move on to the next part. So it's going to take time to shift that mindset. That's why we're making sure we're staying on journaling, meditating, working out, reading books. We are doing the things we need to do to get that mindset shift that we're looking for. We are, breakthrough blueprint. That's the name of the podcast. Is the breakthrough is usually right after the dip. We already know it's cliche. It's a quote. Like, you got to have a breakdown before you have a breakthrough. The hardest stretch comes often right before the momentum. People quit right before it click. These are all things that truly happen. Pressure is a sign that you are getting closer. The harder shit gets, that means the closer you are to achieving what it is you want to achieve. That's just how things usually work. And what they tell you, be careful what you pray for, because God is going to give you the test to get to that. You pray for patience, he's going to give you things to make sure you stay patient. You say you want to be successful, there's going to be things that you're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to show and prove that you want to be successful. But we have to remember, when things get rough, when pressure comes, that usually means that we're getting closer to what it is we want to accomplish. Just take a look back at your life. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of examples. There's a lot of situations where things start going bad, shit start falling apart, and then things just start getting better because you stuck with it. You stayed committed to it. You didn't fold under pressure. You kept going. Now, I want you all, you all know I always do this at the end of the pod. I want you to ask yourself this, like, where are you tempted to slow down right now? Is it because the weather has been crazy, so you're slowing down, going to the gym or going outside for a jog? Things are not, moving as fast as you wanted to move in business, so you're slowing down on your prospecting, or you're slowing down on, doing your social media posts that you say you're going to do. Now, I want you to look at it on the flip side. What would happen if you push for the next 30 days? If you go balls down, balls to the wall, pedal to the metal, no excuses, you just gave 120% for the next 30 days, what do you think will happen? And this is a thing that I set for myself, because there's some things that I am behind on that I wanna get caught up on. So I'm giving myself a 90-day blitz. And you know what? Actually, I may talk about that, on the next podcast, and break that down of what that 90-day blitz look like, and offer the opportunity for you all to be a part of it with me. But for the next 90 days, I'm sacrificing. I'm sacrificing, getting some sleep. I'm sacrificing the social media if it's not related to the 90-day blitz. I'm sacrificing having some fun. I am sacrificing all of these things because I want to get closer to where I want to get to. And I want you all to remember this: don't quit in the chapter right before the breakthrough. Do not quit in the chapter right before the breakthrough. Stay in it, stay locked in. We got this, yo. We have in our hand, we have the opportunity to create whatever life we want. Yet we know, for us to create that life we want, there is going to be a situation where we have to do some we're going to have to do some sacrificing. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, we stay committed to it. We stay doing what we need to do. So this is your boy, Coach Coleman, Jesse Coleman. Thanks for checking into another episode of Breakthrough Blueprint to Podcast, where we help you tap into your full potential. See you next week. Peace.